Yeah, this is going to be an extraordinarily tricky start. I can see already that a number of boats are over the line and are struggling hard to get back on course side. So I expect we're going to hear at least 2 guns. Somebody's going to be over, and the situation with the tide is making things worse. Boats are much closer to the line than they have been on some of the previous starts.
And of course the problem then might be that if there are too many over, they might not be able to identify all of those and, heaven forbid, call a general recall. That really would cause a little bit of stress.
Yeah, well, we'll keep an ear out for that. This is the hooter. The 1 minute hooter as the signals are made here at the Royal Yacht Squadron in Cowes, celebrating its bicentenary. The Royal Yacht Squadron this summer with some fantastic events and this historic, prestigious start line. But nobody's going to be racing over at any great speed, and as Ian said, people trying to get back the right side at the moment. 30 seconds to go.
Just watching Beneteau first 35 here, with all her crew sat down to leeward. They've all virtually got their feet in the water, and I think we're going to be seeing quite a bit of that this week with the light air. The idea is you sit down to leeward, the boat heels over a little bit more and reduces its drag and it sails a bit quicker. But it's great to see this crew who seem to be religiously doing that so early on.
Here comes the decision then from the race officers of the Royal Ocean Racing Club. And it's individual recall, 2 guns. X-ray calls the race officer. And, well, they've got to sort that one out, get all those sail numbers. But there are plenty of boats there pointing away from the Fastnet Rock, aren't there?
Yeah, I think the bulk of the fleet started on port tack, pointing into the tide, and those that are actually behind the line will now turn and make their way out of the Solent. But I can see, I guess, 8 to 10 boats at least that are over the line and are on port and trying to make their way back towards the line.
Who have you got where you are, Matt?
We're alongside a Bavaria in Class 3, Adelaide Star, who gave us a wave, and they're sitting there, as James was saying, all with their crew down to leeward. Then we have a warship. It's not a warship with guns on it. It's a warship as in the Dutch brand of boat, GBR 1000. They're in Class 4, and they were still struggling to get to the line. And quite frustratingly for them, they can't actually see where the line is, although it's fairly academic at the moment, because no one is really going anywhere very quickly at all.
No breeze at all on the flags here at the Royal Yacht Squadron. Very slow progress, very tricky, but there is movement there amongst those that are starting. They're just drifting on the tide, I think.
Got a couple of Sigma 33s which will up with this end, which obviously was the Yachting World boat back in our day, wasn't it, Matt?
It was indeed.
Although I'm pretty pleased not to be doing the race on one of those this year.
Well, certainly at this stage, yes. And it continues as we look down. We're out towards the outer end of the line still. And as we look down towards where you are down there, Simon, and looking towards the squadron, it's quite clear that it still remains the case that actually the better end of the line at the moment is down towards the island shore, because we've had a marker, an indication of how difficult it is to get moving at this end of the line with Safran, who is still only a matter of, maybe she's 8, 10 boat lengths up on the line, but no distance at all. And if that boat can't get going at this end of the line, it really doesn't bode well for the rest of the fleet.
So that's 8 boat lengths in half an hour, which is not very quick, is it?
No, I'm sure that's not on a polar chart, is it?
It's some sort of record, but not one to scribble down.
No.
We saw 3209 Endgame, one of the Irish entrants there, heading out to the Fastnet Rock off the south coast of Ireland, but it's very slow progress. Matt Sheehan out on the commentary boat. You've done plenty of Fastnets in boats of this size. What's it like, Matt, for those of us who haven't?
I think it is, I always describe, well, first of all, it's one of my favourite races, offshore races. It's a superb race, and one of the things that is so important about it, I think, is that unlike a lot of other offshore races during the season, where it might be an overnight race to Cherbourg or maybe 2 nights sailing around the Channel, most of the time you don't really get into a proper routine for watch systems and sleep patterns and the rest of it. And whilst it's great fun, it's really tiring, and you get back and you are pretty knackered, frankly. The great thing about the Fastnet is that after 2 or 3 days, certainly when you get into day 3, you do start to get into a routine. Your body and your mind gets used to going to sleep for a few hours, or maybe it's just an hour, and into that routine. By the time you get to day 4, it feels normal. And day 5, you think, why would I ever want to get off this boat? You go into a completely different state, and it's one of the things that's unusual on a big boat is that you just don't, unless you're crossing an ocean, you don't get to that point. So for many of these sailors for whom this is their personal sailing Everest, it will be, and it might sound overcooking it, but I believe it, it will change the way they look at sailing. It will change the way they even think about operating, you know, on a shift pattern or a watch system rather. It's a very it's an important race, and you come back from it. If it's your first time, you come back from it a different person.
SMA heading to the Western Solent there. I'm sure the crew on Mostly Harmless would agree with you, Matt. We've just seen them trying to get back on course side. It's a race they're not going to forget. 125, the Griff Rhys-Jones yacht there with sails just flapping, hoping for some sort of breeze in those lovely big sails, but it's very tricky, very fluky at the moment.
The other important thing about this race is that it's actually the 90th anniversary of the Rolex Fastnet Race. Basically, the end of the first race back in 1925 was actually there was a meeting event among some of the competitors, which ended up resulted in the formation of the Royal Ocean Racing Club, which has run this race ever since. So it's quite a significant race. The Rolex Fastnet Race is one of the oldest ocean races in the world. It's probably only surpassed by the Transatlantic race, which arrived here about 3 or 4 weeks ago, which sort of dates back to the 19th century. So it really it's developed over the 90 years into well, it's basically the world's biggest offshore race in terms of participation. As I say, we've got somewhere in the order of 350, 370 boats taking part this time. That's up from 336 2 years ago. So it's a big feather in the cap for the Royal Ocean Racing Club who organise it.